Okay, so we are here live. Sorry for the break-in, folks. We are here live at the South Beach in Central Monrovia, where Councillor Gloria Musu and others are expected to be released on orders of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia. Here today at the South Beach, you see folks in a very jubilant mood, family members, sympathizers of Councillor Gloria Musu. There's a huge presence of state security here as well, and folks are eagerly anticipating that moment where Councillor Gloria Musu and others will be escorted out of the Monrovia Central Prison here in Central Monrovia. So folks, we are posted, and of course we're going to give you updates every single step along the way. We want you to give us updates on the audio quality. Just let us know as to whether the audio quality is good enough that we can work with. We've been informed by the family that there's going to be a press conference today at our 16th Street residence, and so this is where we are. Diamond? Yeah, that's fine. Location as we bring you this live broadcast. We are at the Supreme Court as early as 10 a.m. this morning. The Musu appeal was the 11th case for ruling to be rendered by the Supreme Court of Liberia. The Supreme Court has adjourned the ruling in the asset recovery versus gracious right case, and hence the Musu appeal was the opinion was then rendered by the Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia on behalf of the full bench of the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice, reading the opinion, stated that the state failed to have provided whatever instrument that was used to have murdered Chalo and have stabbed her 9 times. The state also failed to have provided the individual roles played by the 4 in the stabbing of Chalo 9 times. There was also a pathologist report of the presence of a male DNA under the fingernails of the deceased. And when the pathologist was questioned, he did state that he acknowledged the presence of the male DNA, but had thought it was the DNA of one of the males who had assisted in transporting Chalo from where the incident occurred to the hospital. The 4th count was that the state admitted that the home of the former Chief Justice was burglarized twice, thereby taking away the argument that the place couldn't have been penetrated by an intruder. All of those 4 counts establishing reasonable doubt that they shouldn't have been convicted by the lower court. Remember, it was a criminal case and it was based on reasonable doubt. There was no count about juror tampering or whether or not there was any infringement on the jurors as well. So hence, the Supreme Court has ordered that the former Chief Justice and the 3 other co-defendants be released immediately from the Monrovia Central Prison, where they've been serving a life sentence, over which they served 7 months of that sentence. They served 6 months on pre-trial detention as well, Nelson. Yeah, so as we speak, Diamond, there is still the arrival of folks here. We have former colleagues of Councillor Gloria Musu. You know, she served as a senator of Montserrat County. There are some lawmakers who are still arriving here at the Monrovia Central Prison. We have the presence of family members of Councillor Gloria Musu, all dressed in white. You have the spokesman, the first son of Councillor Gloria Musu, and others here as well at the Monrovia Central Prison. And there is also the presence of sympathizers of Councillor Gloria Musu. The vehicles are still moving in. The legal team is making its way here as well. And in there at the Monrovia Central Prison, in the facility there, you have Councillor Printers. Okay, that's the family member. That's the spokesman of the family. They're all dressed in the white. And you have other members of Councillor Scott's family arriving here at the Monrovia Central Prison. Why this is happening, there is a jubilant mood here. Okay, so Councillor Senator Blaber Brown of Maryland County, who happens to be the chairman
as well.
Yeah.
He happens to be the chairman on the Senate Committee on Rules, Orders, and Administration, making his way in there at the Monrovia Central Prison, being escorted by some of his staffers. And this is what it is, Diamond. We are eagerly anticipating that moment where Councillor Gloria Musu's car can maybe be escorted from here today, from the Monrovia Central Prison. So Senator Deborah Brown and others right there at the entrance of the Monrovia Central Prison.
So the sheriff is coming. The sheriff is coming with the mandate. They are coming with the mandate from the Supreme Court of Liberia. That is what we've been informed that prominent officials are coming as well. Our legal team, they are coming. This the legal team. They're bringing the mandate. That is the mandate. That is the mandate to have a release. That is the threat of the Supreme Court of Liberia. Coming with the mandate as well to have a release from the bellies of the Monrovia Central Prison.
So Diamond, the mandate has been escorted by not just the sheriff, but by the legal team of Councillor Scott, and you have Senator Deborah Brown, her former colleague of Maryland County.
You have to be attentive. Any moment from now, once that is served, she will be released. What we've been informed is all of their belongings have been packed already. And once this mandate is brought to the Monrovia Central Prison, where they were committed to, they will then be released. Convicted and sentenced 6 months pre-trial detention, 1 year, 3 months since they were sentenced and committed to this facility. Today they're walking free. They are trading the blue jackets that we saw on them whenever they went to court for their ordinary clothes as free persons. The question is, if the state got this spot wrong, who killed Chalo Musu? That is the question. If these 4 individuals today, Nelson, meaning there is a
perpetrator the act who carried on the murder of Chalo Musu is a big question that Liberians across the world are trying to find answers to. But there will be a few things that even the state should pick up from such a case, talking about how investigation is carried out. You know how much of attention should be given to every single detail of the investigative process when it comes to these kinds of trials. So there's a whole lot going on all at the same time, and we can only anticipate that the legal system, the prosecutors, will be giving the necessary attention in terms of building their capacity where they can be able to, in a very accurate and timely manner, investigate these kinds of cases, especially ones that have to do with murder, getting the necessary evidence, the pieces of evidence on time, so as to make sure that innocent individuals do not languish behind bars.
Yes, that is one of the takeaways from this particular ruling. As I said earlier, 2 murder cases were reversed today. 2 murder convictions were reversed today by the full bench of the Supreme Court of Liberia. If 2 murder convictions have been reversed by the Supreme Court of Liberia, Nelson Colette, it tells you that our prosecutorial section has got issues. How we investigate, how we gather evidence, and all of that has got serious issues.
Could that be attributed to the lack of sophistication in giving our own limitation and all of that to gather the necessary pieces of evidence in due time?
Nelson, it's a holistic thing. Firstly, we as citizens have to be informed, educated, and indoctrinated as to how to preserve crime scenes, because whenever there is an incident, we as citizens will rush to the crime scene and we contaminate the crime scene. How forensic evidence is also collected and how sophisticated is our forensic department is another question. In the scientific elimination process, once a DNA is detected, suspected individuals are profiled. Their DNA samples are taken either by a warrant from the court or voluntarily given, and if their DNA does not match the DNA present, they are eliminated. So in a more scientific area or in more scientific states, there are errors though, but the margin for errors are usually slimmer than what we have in our country today. This tells you that the investigation, the gathering of evidence, and the rest were not properly done. This tells you if the pathologist can later attest that yes, there was the presence of no DNA, that could speak to whether the pathologist was induced or whether he was coerced, or better still, he just lacked the professional ineptitude, the professional ability to have been called on that case. It brings to question the professional capability of the pathologist, whether or not he was an expert or he traded his expert opinion for something else. So many questions and answers. There are always the political sides that people are saying that the CDC convicted and the UP has acquitted based on political affiliation. So wherever the case is, Nelson, a 29-year-old Liberian lost her life, and once these 4 individuals are released today, meaning there is a murderer or murderers out there that haven't been brought to book. The bottom line of this story is Charlo Musu has not gotten justice, though Gloria Musu start Gertrude Newton, old lady Rebecca Yuda Wisner, and Alice Johnson have been given justice by the full bench of the Supreme Court. Charlo Musu has not gotten justice, and she's dead and gone.
And it's the responsibility of the state to provide justice in any given case where any of our citizens is being murdered in such a way, whether by a family member, whether by an unknown person, whether by an influential person in society. It is the responsibility of the state to make sure that justice is served. Whether or not Charlo Musu is going to get justice following the acquittal of the Councilor Gloria Musu Scott and 3 others is a question that a lot of Liberians are seeking answers to. But at the moment, we've spoken to some of the family members, we've spoken to the spokesperson of the Scott family, we've spoken to some members of the legal team, and what they've told us is that they cannot speak at the moment. They're not in the position to speak to what the next plan of action is, what the next move is. We want to speak to one of the legal counsels. You want to talk to Spoon TV, Councilor Jerry Dugwell. Welcome to Spoon TV.
Thank you.
You are one of those on the legal team, the secretary on the legal team of Councilor Gloria Musu Scott. I remember the last time we interviewed you when there was when the councilor was convicted. You were very emotional about it. You thought that there were some issues. What do you make of the ruling today?
I think justice has prevailed. As I indicated a lot of time to you, that I like in this particular situation to sports, football in particular. What happened in the trial court was like somebody winning first half and we won the entire game. I'm happy and excited that justice has prevailed, because what happened all the time was absolute persecution and not prosecution.
So what if the legal team, Councilor Gloria Musu Scott, their client, had not been acquitted today?
Well, I mean, at least I expected that, because I know that the court in question considers the law, Supreme Court, as a court of final arbiter of justice, considers the law and will definitely apply the law as a duty. So I mean, I expected 100%.
You expected the ruling today?
Oh, of course I expected. I expected that we would definitely win.
So Liberians are gathered here, and a lot of questions is being asked as to whether Councilor Gloria Musu Scott will be walked out of the Monrovia Central Prison today. Can you speak to that?
Yes, she will be walked out. I mean, the court acquitted all day, and we are just obtained a release from the clerk of the Supreme Court. So we have come together all of this other year. In fact, she'll have an engagement with you.
Okay. Thank you for talking to Spoon TV.
One question quickly, Anthony. Does the rule of double jeopardy apply in this particular case?
No, it doesn't.
So the state can, if they have new evidence, indict these 4 individuals.
That point, no, it cannot suffice. I thought you meant something. It cannot suffice. In fact, we are even contemplating suing the state for malicious prosecution.
So double jeopardy applies in this case, that the state cannot re-prosecute these 4 individuals.
No, they cannot be prosecuted. I mean, the other perpetrators are all there, and we are looking for that the national police can open an investigation to get the true assailant. In fact, we are contemplating, as I indicated, to institute a lawsuit against the government of Liberia for malicious prosecution, which is grounded on the law of Liberia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Kuku Toba, welcome to School TV. You are one of you serve on this case. You've been one of the legal counsel.
I'm so glad that justice has finally prevailed. I'm so happy that she could finally find justice.
Will you be working out of here with Councillor Gloria Musu?
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I come from Supreme Court. That's why I'm here.
What if your claim was not what if the ruling was not overturned today?
Why if we knew they never had no evidence, they never proved the case.
Thank you very much for coming to Smooth TV. And of course, folks, we're still here. And Diamond, it is now confirmed. We can now say, without any doubt, as confirmed by the legal team, that Councillor Gloria Musu will be walking out of here today a free person.
Yes, as you can see, they are trickling in more individuals entering the compound of the Monrovia Central Prison. That is only indicative of the fact that they are going to release Councillor Gloria Musu and the 3 others that have been acquitted by the full bench of the Supreme Court of Liberia. The fact that you see the heavy presence of supporters, family members, and the rest, that tells you as well that this release is imminent. We've been informed that their personal effects are being packed, that the mandate is being given to the superintendent of the Monrovia Central Prison, where they were committed after their conviction and subsequent sentencing, that these individuals are to be processed and released from the Monrovia Central Prison. The weather has taken a turn as well. It was raining earlier. The sun is now scorching a bit. It's now sunny, and these supporters are now relenting. But the key question, as you listen to one of our councillors, is that they too are contemplating on suing the government for malicious prosecution. It is also a slap in the face of the state, the all-powerful state, the state that should have prosecuted this case beyond reasonable doubt, the state that requested $150,000 United States dollars to prosecute. This trial went on for 5 gruesome months, only for the state to have prosecuted wrongly without sufficient evidence and with a tantamount amount of doubt, reasonable doubt, not just a little amount of reasonable doubt, but a very substantial amount of reasonable doubt. The key question now is, who killed Charlo Musu, whose DNA was under the finger of the deceased? Why didn't the state provide the object that was used? Why didn't the state also point to the roles of the 4 individuals as well? And why didn't the state, also admit that this property was broken into on 2 occasions, thereby establishing the fact that that property was breached on 2 occasions, meaning that the intruder could have entered. As a sound prosecutor, Nelson, these are questions you would have answered. These are questions and pieces of evidence you would have provided. But from all indications, Nelson, the state relied on circumstantial evidence and eyewitnesses' testimony rather than providing forensic and scientific evidence, presumably DNA, which is effective in making sure that you convict without reasonable doubt.
One may want to term this entire process as a slap in the face of jury trial, given that the initial stage of this entire trial was there was a jury trial from the initial. You had the jurors; they were isolated. They were given time to look into the pieces of evidences provided. The witnesses were made to give their own account of the situation. The jurors made a decision. The lower court came up with a ruling convicting Councillor Gloria Musu and 3 others. But now, given what we see today, Diamond, will you consider this a slap in the face of jury trial?
it is not just a slap in the face of jury trial because you provided two options under our jurisprudence in Liberia.
Yeah.
It's either a bench trial that is agreed upon by the prosecution and the defense, which is a judge will preside over the case, or a jury trial that is again, agreed upon by the defense and the prosecution. So both agreed for a jury trial. Jurors are ordinary citizens. They are civil servants who are laymen who have no knowledge of the law. That is why it is the obligation, the responsibility of the prosecution to go to a trial with irrefutable evidence, Nelson, because you're talking about the freedom of another person. In this case, 4 persons. You're talking about the life of another individual that was taken. So if the state has not got probable cause, enough evidence to go to trial, the state shouldn't have gone to trial. The sentence should have, one of the charges should have been manslaughter, which would have meant it was a weapon of opportunity, it wasn't planned or whatever, but the state went from murder, meaning that it wasn't a weapon of opportunity, it was premeditated, it was carried out with malicious intent, and the late Musu was killed with intention. Whether Gloria Musu Scott and the 3 others, according to the state, planned to kill her, conspired to kill her, or they got involved after she was killed. Remember, the state failed to have also stated the roles of the 4 individuals in Chalo Musu's murder. So there again tells you that the state did not have expert or irrefutable evidence to have pointed to either Gloria Musu Scott, Gertrude Newton, Alice Johnson, or Rebecca Yuda Wisner to have been the main perpetrator. The state, if they had irrefutable evidence, Nelson, they would have opted for individual trial rather than a class action. What we saw was a class action. The state couldn't turn any of the defendants into state evidence. They couldn't do that because they had a class action and you couldn't tell on the other. So again, that also hindered the defense, that also hindered the prosecution because the state couldn't pinpoint or couldn't give a plea bargain or a plea deal to any of the 4 to say, look, turn state evidence, tell us who did this, what happened, and we will either drop your charges or reduce.
Okay, so
once they come out, you know the chairs.
We are anticipating the arrival. Diamond, what we see now, there are indications that any moment from now, Councillor Gloria Musu Scott and others might just walk out of these gates here at the Monrovia Central Prison. Any moment from now. So, Diamond, Spoon TV, of course, we're coming to you live from the Monrovia Central Prison, and this is very important. Spoon TV, we are going to provide you all of the updates here, every single step along the way. And Diamond, there are indications that Councillor Gloria Musu Scott and others might just be let out of these gates. And of course, we are here to provide the updates as it unfolds. And of course, so Diamond, at the end of the day, with the huge presence of state actors in there, influential individuals all in there, you have the huge presence of state security as well. This is an indication that Councillor Gloria Musu Scott and others might just walk out this gate any moment from now. Of course, as Spoon TV, we will bring you all of the updates every single step along the way. We will give you updates here every single step along the way. There's a huge presence of state security here now, and of course, it's expected that Councillor Gloria Musu Scott and others will be walking out of these gates any moment from now. Now, just for the update, for some of you asking as to what's the update on the Gracious Riot case, the court was adjourned today, and what that means is that the Gracious Riot case has been pushed to further date. So once the court resumes, the Gracious Rise case will be looked into. And so Damo, you know that at some point there were names that were linked to this particular case. And we saw, for example, that Valitere had to come forward. The call log of Valitere and others were being monitored, were being requested, and all of those things happened along the line. What does this mean for the state? What does this mean for the court, the entire process? I mean, just considering the fact that Councillor Gloria Musu is being set free today, are we about to witness maybe the police launching a new investigation into this entire process, bringing some of those individuals who were previously linked to this gruesome murder of Charles Musu? Are we about to witness the police opening another investigation into this issue? Because as it stands, the major concern right now is Charles Musu getting justice, bringing the perpetrator to book. Whoever committed the murder, whoever must have murdered Charles Musu, being brought to book so that justice is served in the case of the murder of a Liberian citizen. So and that's the next area of concern. Though I know today the atmosphere is very tense. Folks are jubilating around the Monrovia Central Prison. This is just on the release of Councillor Gloria Musu Scott. But in the case of justice being served, Diamond, what do you think? Are we about to see some of the names previously linked to this case being called for questioning? Are we about to see the police launching a new investigation into the circumstances leading to the death of Charlo Musu?
Charlo Musu's case is just one of the many cases that have gone, uninvestigated to a larger extent professionally. It should shed more light on how, I don't want to use under-equipped, but how in need of expert knowledge our Liberian National Police investigative arm should. Talking about the forensic department, we need to go more to scientific rather than relying on eyewitnesses accounts, which can sometimes be good, but eyewitnesses accounts can also be faulty. They can be blurry. Eyewitnesses can change their statements from the first day of investigation. Even in court, they can tend to change their statements as well. This is also a wake-up call, not just for the Liberian National Police, but the government of Liberia through the Ministry of Justice to train more forensic investigators, to be fast to respond to preserve crime scenes. It's very pivotal. When a crime scene is contaminated, it's difficult, it compromises the investigation. We also need to see an holistic approach of instructing citizens, informing us, educating citizens on what it is, what a crime scene should be protected. Don't go on a crime scene, don't trample, don't touch things. Even if you're attempting to save somebody, you should do it in a way that is not going to compromise an investigation. And how responsive is our police? And also to the prosecution, we shouldn't be hasty to try cases because they have political magnitude or they will score political points for us as well. You should properly do your investigations. You should collect irrefutable evidence. Even if it's a circumstantial case, the circumstances should make sense. Look at the 4 counts for which this case, the ruling was reversed. 1, the state failed to have provided what object was used. Finding the object would have been pivotal because you would have done your DNA testing to see who handled that object as well. The object was also important for the state to have proven a point as to being stabbed 9 times in criminal justice. That is called an overkill. You understand? It takes you 2 fatal and 1 fatal blow to kill somebody, but to stab a person 9 times, that is an overkill. That means that person harbors some aggression towards that person, whether emotionally or whatever. When you see that kind of stabbing, the number of stabbing, that is an overkill. So the state also failed to have provided the roles of the 4 individuals as to how they stabbed Charlo Musu 9 times. The state also failed. The pathologist failed to acknowledge the presence of a male DNA, only to have said that he thought it was the DNA of those males who helped to transport Charlo Musu. But what we're getting from all indications is that the 4 acquitted are about to exit the Monrovia Central Prison. This is a historic day. It's a wake-up call for our judicial system. Two murder cases were reversed today by the Supreme Court of Liberia. One from Grand Bassa County involving a prayer mother who was accused of murder, kidnapping as well. Her verdict again was reversed by the Supreme Court of Liberia. Prosecutorial errors, not prosecuting beyond reasonable doubt. It is also a positive for our judicial system that Liberians can get a redress even at the highest level of crimes, murder. You know, that you can go to the Supreme Court and you can get a redress. But the question is, how many of these individuals are languishing beyond bars in our various prison facilities that they were not given proper trials were rushed, prosecutors didn't provide sufficient evidence, and they do not possess the financial might to have, paid for an appeal to the Supreme Court of Liberia, and they serving sentences that they shouldn't be serving. Another pivotal question that we will always hammer home is, who murdered Charlo Musu? Is the LMP now going to launch a new investigation? Are we going to see a new list of persons of interest? How is the investigation going to be conducted? Or this case is just going to run cold and Charlo Musu, like many others, will not get justice and their deaths will just go unnoticed, uninvestigated, and people go unpunished.
Going back to what the prosecution or the state should look forward to, how much of a due diligence they should do before they back in on these kinds of cases, that's something that's very key. Because, Diamond, one thing to look at here is that the state or the prosecution invest a lot of time into these processes. The several months that this case has been going for, it has been precious time that the prosecution or the state will have used to address other issues, but of course they have been concentrating on this case. The next thing is that it's a waste of resources. It becomes a waste of resources when the state does not win these kinds of cases, one would think, because come to think about it, taxpayers' monies are used to finance these cases. When the state goes to fight a case, it's not done on a pro bono basis. Of course, the jurors had to be paid, the state security, some of whom had to work extra hours, had to get some level of stipend, and you talk about other aspects of the case. So state resources is something that goes into these kinds of cases. That is why it's very important for the government to be sure of cases before going into before taking on any case, especially getting the pieces of evidence right.
Nelson, again, you mentioned state resources. You listen to one of the legal counsels of Councillor Musu saying they will sue the government in a civil case for malicious prosecution. Yeah. If they win that lawsuit, that is the state losing money that could have gone to build schools, could have gone to build hospitals, could have even gone to pay police officers that are enforcing law and order. You understand? So a lot is at risk whenever prosecution is rushed, where you do not have concrete evidence.
Maybe you want to go back to how much the state,
according to what we gathered, the prosecution asked for $150,000 United States dollars. This is a startling contrast to how much prosecutors are given in rural Liberia. 1,000 United States dollars is what prosecutors are given in rural Liberia to prosecute criminal cases. So with that amount, imagine 150,000 couldn't yield a result. There was substantial reasonable doubt. What about 1,000 United States dollars to prosecute a case in rural Liberia? That tells you the number of Liberians that did not get proper trial, rush trials, and do not have the money to seek legal redress and languishing in prison.
I want to come in here from two fronts, Diamond. One, from the aspect wherein at least an attempt was made, right? Another argument would be that, look, the government did not win this case, but some efforts was being made to at least assure some Liberians out there that in case you maybe were caught in some sort of unfortunate situation, you have the government, you have the state that is there to invest the resources.
Just give you assurance that the state in a high-profile case lost. What does that tell you as an ordinary Liberian? That you can get justice? You know, this puts a dent on the mindset of ordinary Liberians. But there are different views from Liberians. There are others who feel that this was politically manipulated. Yeah. You know, the CDC convicted the UP the UP acquitted and all of that. But for our legal system, it is not a positive at all. It is not a positive at all. We're talking about the top.
150,000 have been wasted. 150,000 Liberian taxpayers' money has been wasted.
It's not just the monetary value. A life was lost, and we've not gotten justice for that person. As these 4 individuals are walking out of the walls of the Monrovia Central Prison, they are now deemed innocent under the law. Meaning, a murderer or murderers are out there, and Chalo has not gotten redress. She has not gotten justice. That is what it tells you. Whether 150,000, 200,000, or whatever the amount is. So what we see now is there is movement. There is movement. We can see that they bring in a vehicle. She's about to get in Representative Priscilla Cooper's vehicle, but we will bring you all of the happenings here as well. We see Senator Blebo Brown is also coming out. This tells you that they are about to release Councilor Gloria Musu and the 3 other co-defendants. That is what we are seeing now. So we come to this
Madam Councilor Gloria Musu is going to be released. Any moment from now, Councilor Scott will be walked out of the Monrovia Central Prison. There is movement, and we are expecting, of course, the arrival of Councilor Gloria Musu or exit from the Monrovia Central Prison any moment from now. We have been told that the family members will have.
So Representative Prince Coles is exiting, and we can see the chantings, the cheers. As you can hear, she's out, she's almost outside. Ladies and gentlemen, outside, I can see that Councilor Gloria Musu is being escorted outside of the Monrovia Central Prison. As you can see, folks, we do our best to bring you the front coverage. I see her, she's wearing a hair tie. She's wearing a hair tie. She's exiting. There she is. Councilor Gloria Musu Prison. The Monrovia Central Prison. We see them walking out of the Monrovia Central Prison. That's what the Gloria Musu is right here. They're all wearing white, and she's waving as well, waving, and being escorted out. That's what Musu is making her way into Mercedes G-Wagon. She's wearing a purple hair tie, white t-shirt, and black jeans. All of them are wearing black and white. They are being heavily escorted into the vehicle here, and they've traded their prison uniform for their regular house clothes. So wherever it is, you're watching us from Spoon TV. We will be following the convoy to her 16th Street residence.
So, as you just saw, Councilor Gloria Musu has been escorted out of the Monrovia Central Prison. You see, folks are in a very jubilant mood. Family members, sympathizers, loved ones, Liberians interested in this case have gathered here today to witness the release of Councilor Gloria Musu from the Monrovia Central Prison. And of course, it is a very tense atmosphere here with a huge presence of state security. And of course, making sure that Councilor Gloria Musu is escorted out of the Monrovia Central Prison. She was being escorted to the vehicle of the lawmaker, the representative of District 8, Montserrat County, Prince Coles. And of course, she's been escorted to her 16th Street residence in Cinco, where we've been told that Councilor Gloria Musu will be engaging with the press. She's going to be having a major press conference right after here, telling Liberians exactly what the issues are, what the circumstances were surrounding her And of course, this is the vehicle where Councillor Gloria Musu is being escorted. Finally, after several months of being behind bars, Councillor Gloria Musu is finally being released today from the Monrovia Central Prison following a ruling from the High Court, the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia, which happens to be the final arbiter of justice in the Republic of Liberia. Now, everyone is headed to the home, the 16th Street residence of Councillor Gloria Musu, where it is expected that she, along with her legal team, will be addressing the press. So, she and her legal team will be here. All right. So, Spoon TV, we are here live. So we are now headed to the home resident of. Stop here. Yeah, let's stop here. The 16th Street resident. This is where the entire team is now headed, Spoon TV. And of course, this is a historic day in our country, and Liberians across the world have been watching, waiting eagerly for the ruling today from the Supreme Court. And Diamond, you saw the atmosphere. You saw how jubilant Liberians, the sympathizers, the family members of Councillor Gloria Musu were when she was being released, finally walked out of the Monrovia Central Prison.
Yes, Nelson, I'm driving at the same time, we'll contribute to the conversation. But all of the concentration now is on jubilating that she's been released. But I'm sure as the jubilations die down for a number of days, then the real reason why they were put behind bars would then be addressed, that a young Liberian female, 29-year-old female, lost her life, and so far there are no perpetrators behind bars for that gruesome act. To have been stabbed 9 times, again, as I said, that shows intensity of the murder. That is an overkill, to have stabbed someone 9 times to kill them. And that's one of the reasons we're talking about forensic investigation, expert pathologist review, and all of that. That was going to inform us as to how many blows did it take for Charlo to have died. Whether the 9 times of her being stabbed was what led to her death, or she was stabbed once or twice at vital points and she died, and the perpetrator or perpetrators continued to have stabbed her. As I said again, this is a call for our criminal justice system, our investigative sector in our country to be invested into for real scientific and forensic, the whole prosecutorial arm needs to be revamped, Nelson, from investigation, which is the core of any case. The investigative stage is the core of any case, because investigators will find out and give you the requisite evidence that prosecutors will need to take their case to court. So again, that's what we need in this country. It's a victory today for Councillor Musu and the 3 others. They were wearing white and black. They are wearing white and black. She's wearing a purple hair tie since the day she appeared at the police station and all of that. But today she's going home after being behind bars for a year and 3 months now. Since 7 of those months serving a lifetime sentence, 6 of those months being on pre-trial detention.
Yeah, and this is very important because Councillor Gloria Musu's card, I remember vividly on the very day that the initial ruling, the guilty verdict was handed down by the lower court. She was in a very tense mood. The councillor took several minutes, about 15 minutes, even in the courtroom, to curse those individuals who perpetrated the act. She maintained that she is innocent, that she's being accused and she's being prosecuted despite being innocent. and that the actual doers of the act will pay for what they did. She also expressed optimism that in spite of what was going on, even the ruling from the lower court at the time, that she would have seen this day where she will be set free. And this is more like a dream come through for Councillor Gloria Musu Scott and the 3 others who have been behind bars for several months. Let's make it a little over 1 year at the Monrovia Central Prison. But then there's a next step to this whole thing. There are so many questions that Liberians across the country will keep asking, and one of those will be, how prepared is the legal team of the country, the legal arm of the country, or maybe we want to say the prosecution, to take on murder cases? How prepared? Do we have the sophistication to do that? If we ever intend doing so, what are some of the pieces we can pick up from this particular case with Councillor Gloria Musu Scott talking about the death of Charles Musu? What are some of the missteps that maybe the government now can learn from, that moving forward that you have to put in place before embarking on any case of such nature? What are some of the T that they will have to cross and the I's they will have to dot before embarking on those cases? And the next thing is that, what's the assurance to Liberians out there, especially some of those whose relatives and friends and loved ones have been gruesomely murdered and are still looking forward to getting justice for those people? Does this case in any way give hope to those people?
Nelson, if just not to interrupt you rudely, we approaching Capitol Hill now, and the motorcade you can see with the last vehicle of this motorcade, right?
Yeah.
It consists of at least 25 vehicles. This is again a contrast to when they were brought to jail. You only had them being whisked away in the corrections bus when they were sentenced, right? Jubilation all over, Liberians left and right lining the road. They've gotten the information that this motorcade you see has got on board the former Chief Justice and 3 others that were acquitted. Their conviction was reversed by the Supreme Court of Liberia because the prosecution, in no better words, blundered. The prosecution blundered. You know, the prosecution was sloppy in getting a conviction. She's on board the G-Wagon vehicle in the middle of this of this motorcade. There are those on board waving white handkerchiefs and the rest. And today is a victory for them, but it is a huge loss to our justice system, Nelson. Again, it brings to bear the $100 million drug case that we lost in this country again, because the prosecution, you know, failed to do their homework. So we have lost prominent cases as a country, but only average Joes seem to always be convicted, and their convictions are upheld on the majority. So you ask the question, what does this do to our justice system? Does this send a message of confidence about our justice system? The political side will, those who are supporters of the CDC and detractors of Councillor Musu Scott and the 3 others have said this is a travesty of justice. Those who are supporters of Councillor Musu Scott and the UP are saying this is the triumph of justice. But whatever the case is, the public opinion will always be that the haves will always have their day in court. The have-nots will not have their day in court. As you can see, we're passing the executive mansion now on Capitol Hill, headed along the Totman Boulevard to her 16th Street residence.
Now, Diamond, we are expected to have some interaction, some engagement with the former Chief Justice, Councillor Gloria Musu Scott. We understand she's going to be having a press conference there today as well. We want to go. I want to go back a little, Diamond, and you spoke of the haves, you know, getting justice, and what happens to the have-nots, and that's exactly where I want to go. You go to you want to revisit the whole situation with the pathologists, you know, the government pathologists, and the autopsy that was conducted, the report that came out comparing it to the independent pathologist was put in the country by the family, the Scott family, to conduct an independent autopsy on the remains. So again, the question is, what if, just what if, have the resources to bring in an if you go back to the points highlighted by the High Court, the Supreme Court of Liberia, talking about the male specimen or the male DNA found in the fingernail of Charlo Musu, and the state failing to provide and some of those other issues that were raised, the involvement of the international pathologist was very pivotal to what we're saying today. Again, we want to ask the question of what if there wasn't any involvement of independent or the international pathologist who was brought in by the family. What do you think would have happened today, Diamond?
Well, Nelson, you just answered the question. You answered the question, and you also earlier that they have, because they do have the means, you know, to have brought in an independent pathologist. Chocon is going to paint the camera. We're coming down the Stella Marie Hill, where the Pan-African Plaza is. You can see this motorcade is a long one. It's a very long one. And Councillor Clara Musu's car is on board the G-Wagon that is in the middle of this motorcade. But back to your question, how many Liberians, either you have the means to fight your case legally and bring in independent or international pathologists like the Scots did, or you're being supported by some innocence project that has probable cause to believe that you are innocent, and they have the means to you see all over. Even Liberians, ordinary Liberians are waving. These are people that are going by their own way on the left.